The team wins 4 games out of the gate, including the LSU game. That was enormous, of course, for a number of reasons, because the team didn't have a whole lot of confidence or success in ever beating anyone any good. Anybody on that roster really didn't and had not tasted that kind of success against a quality opponent. They get that done. They lose 3 consecutive games, all of which, maybe the NC State game's the outlier. They obviously, if they make a play at the end, either kicking the field goal or completing the pass in the end zone, they win the game. The other ones, they were within range, but they got outplayed for the most part. Then they go on this 6-game run to close out the season, and probably the best teams they beat were Florida and Oklahoma off the top of my head, that are decent teams, but they're not great. That's for sure, is 6-6 teams in the regular season. So out of all that, what gives you confidence that the 10-3 is legit and that it's going to continue and get even better this season?
I will say what gives me confidence is not so much in just going on the sixth run win at the end of the season, because that was much needed, because then you would have lost, a lot of people would have lost all hope that we were going to be anything in the year of 2023 if we would have lost any of those games. What gives me great hope is not only in the wins that we had, but that we were in each and every game, that even when we lost, that we were just a play or 2 plays away. And I will say this, the biggest reason that we lost that 3-game stretch early on was because we didn't have Fabian Lovett, and we were very shy at defensive tackle. So people realized, like, if you go back and watch some of these games that we lost, those 3 games that we lost, they ran a counter in the A gap and they ran a counter in the C gap that just absolutely, we could not stop it. And they knew how to, they were letting the outside of their pocket break down so that guys would fan out, and it would open that A gap or C gap up so that they could run that counter. And we just kept falling for it over and over again. And nothing against the Malcolm Rays and the Jacksons and stuff. They're just young guys. They hadn't been here long enough to really know what to do. So losing Fabian Lovett was huge for us. So it was, we could have won those games. We should have won those games. But what gives me the greatest hope is the way that we lost. And that sounds crazy, but because we were competitive all the way through, never gave up, these guys will fight for Coach Norvell nonstop. I mean, they'll run through brick walls for him. They believe in his process. They believe in what he's creating them young men into being, and they believe what this program's doing. So that's where I have the most confidence, is because of the way we lost, which sounds absolutely crazy.
Well, Chris, one other thing before I let you go. I want to get back to Norvell, because you bring up something that brings up a question in my mind that I think is pretty fascinating when you look at other coaches and programs where a coach maybe had a reclamation project on his hands and he was able to turn the corner, but he was very close to not turning the corner. And there was a place where, okay, if he doesn't start winning some games here, regardless of how good he may be somewhere else, he's not going to get it done here, and it's going off the rails. And he was kind of close to that edge. You know, you start the season 0-4 2 years ago, and it could have gotten really ugly. Now they salvaged the season to a certain extent, but they still didn't get to a bowl game. Then this season, they lose the 3 consecutive games. You know, at what point do you think he really saved his career at Florida State and salvaged this whole thing? Because there were a few times, again, where it could have really gone off the rails.
Oh, Mark, to me, that's a real hard one. I can't say there's any one defining moment that I would say we just knew that he turned the corner and that this is our guy. I do. There was a press conference after going 0-4, and they were coming after him pretty hard and saying that this is the first time since 1975 or 76 since Florida State has lost this amount of games and we've been this bad. And he was very passionate in that conference, and he was slamming his hand down on the desk, and he says, I can't control what happened back then. I can't control anything besides this team right now, today. That's what I can control. And I know that we don't want to lose. We can't lose like this, stuff to that nature. And he says, all I can do is put us back to work and make sure this never happens again. And I think that was the moment that I believed in him, and that I think that the fan base was like, even though we lost 4 in a row, And this is, I mean, we are at the bottom of the list here. We really believed in him because of what he said.